Welcome in, everybody. This is Two-Way Tonight. I'm Mark Halperin, 6 o'clock in the East and other times, other places. Thank you for being part of the Two-Way experience. As Jimi Hendrix might ask, are you experienced? And you are. Many of you are returning, but there are new people here. The audience continues to grow. That's a product of the YouTube algorithm. We're about to hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, which there's some mystical, magical mysticism to the 100,000. Like once you hit 100,000, like the next day you hit 200,000. There's just something about it. So very excited about that. And as you know, we're now available on podcast. So if you haven't already subscribed to this podcast and the morning meeting, please do. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Stitcher, is that someplace people listen to podcasts? Stitcher, I think that's the name of a thing. Anyway, we're grateful to you for being part of the Two-Way community and super grateful to our two guests tonight. Two accomplished political strategists who play at the highest level of American politics, government, business. And if you were in a foxhole, and the foxhole involved winning a presidential election, and you were drafting like the NBA draft or the NFL draft, these would be first round picks, and not low in the first round, high in the first round. Kristin Davison, GOP strategist, Karen Skelton, Democratic strategist, will join us in just a moment. Yesterday, I said, as I often do on days such as this, cats and dogs. There's like 30 stories I'm interested in today, and not making it up, genuinely interested. Some great video, but no big giant lead story. You go on the websites of your major publications right now, you'll see lots of different lead stories, but lots of really interesting stories. And I think you're going to like some of the sound we play here tonight. Some you'll have seen maybe if you watch cable, and some you'll be seeing here. I won't say exclusive, but the team here does a great job, as you know, night after night, finding really interesting stuff. So in a moment, I'll bring in our guests, and I think I'm gonna not even do any news without them because there's, well, maybe a little bit, but I want their reaction to all this. I'm so interested to see what they think. And then if you're here on the Two-Way platform, we'll want to get your questions and comments. So if you are and you'd like to be part of the conversation, please raise your hand. If you're watching on YouTube, X, Sassafras, please don't raise your hand. Don't put smack in the chat. As you'll see when Kristin and Karen get here, all they do is extend the presumption of grace. They're the most graceful people I know, and they believe in peace, love, and understanding, which is partly why there be such great guests. All right. First, though, a word from our sponsor, Cozy Earth. They've been our sponsor for a lot of the summer, and that's been great for me because it's given me an opportunity to wear some of their stuff and sleep on some of their stuff because they do incredible bedding. But we're focused, as we almost always are, on the pants. I love the shirts too, but the pants are incredible. And there's two new options: bamboo joggers, the everywhere pant, both incredible and so comfortable and so cooling. I don't know if they've got like a wizard over there. I don't know exactly how they make it. I'd like to understand more about the production process because these viscose made from bamboo, they wick away moisture. They're so cool and comfortable. And I've been going out to a lot of events in the summer here outside, and everybody else looks miserable in their long pants. But I'm wearing pants that like pajama comfort, but they look perfectly at home at a fancy summer party and a not so fancy summer party. I've worn them to the beach too. They're a great pair of pants. So if you want to get the pants or the bedding, which I also recommend you, been sleeping on that this summer, go right now to cozyearth.com, use the code Two-Way, get 40% off pants, pajamas, bedding, more. Again, cozyearth.com, use the code Two-Way. Sleep cooler, lounge lighter, stay cozy. All right, thanks to them for sponsoring the program, and thanks to you for being here. Let me just run through some of the stories, then bring in our guests. First, the Vice President, Stephen Miller, and the Defense Secretary went to Union Station today. Now, some of you will know this and find it boring, but if you don't know the geography of Washington, Union Station, beautiful old train station, renovated, I don't know, 25 years ago, maybe 30, I don't know, a while ago. Still a beautiful building. And it sits 5 blocks or so from the Capitol. It sits right 2 blocks from where the offices of NBC and Fox and C-SPAN are. And if you walk 5 miles in the wrong direction, you'd be taking your life into your own hands, which is to say, there's a lot of danger lurking around Union Station and in Union Station, the train station for Washington. You'd find on a regular basis unsavory characters. Let's say it that way. So we'll dive deep into the visit of the president, the vice president, and his 2 colleagues to Union Station, and the video is somewhat compelling. We'll also talk about President Trump's new move to get a woman named Lisa Cook, who's a Fed governor, off the Fed Her term goes through like 2038 into the 2030s. They got long terms over there. We'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about a little bit on Ukraine. And we'll talk about redistricting and Gavin Newsom's new whole shtick. I can't wait to hear what the ladies say about that. And then I think it's saving. I'm going to save it because I want to see what they think. But some incredible video. Where's the Sean Duffy video from, Noah? Is that like a handout? Where is that from TV?
Yeah, it was handed out.
Handed out. So Will Cain at Fox
well.
And Secretary Duffy, who some of us know as a reality TV star, incredible. I'd say one of the top 20. I'm not counting the Real Housewives because I don't know anything about that. But if you take all the other reality TV shows, Sean Duffy is one of the 20 most iconic characters ever to appear on a reality TV show. I wonder, Michael, put that in Chat GPT, see if they back me up. Just say who are the 20 most iconic. Anyway, Sean Duffy and Will Cain of Fox, and of course Sean Duffy's wife works at Fox. They went and worked out together, and you will not want to miss this video. They are smoking. Those two guys are smoking. All right, let's bring in our guests. Are our guests here? I promised to bring them in. Let's see if they're here. Kristin's here. Here she is. Kristin Davison. Here she is. Do that right? I did. Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. Is that what that says?
That's right.
It's a little cliched, isn't it?
You know, one person's cliche is another person's motto. So
okay. Do you know Karen Skelton, your co-guest tonight?
I don't think
All
so.
Right. Crazy. You two don't know each other. I would have liked the two of you to work on like a $50,000 a month retainer for Microsoft together. Maybe after tonight
that wouldn't have been able to afford us. I can tell you that.
Yeah. You guys are more expensive than Hunter Biden on a Burisma contract. That's my standard. That's my standard. I tell my consultant friends, don't get out of bed for less than 50 grand a month. Right? Karen and Kristin, again, I don't know if you heard my overly enthusiastic, in the view of some, introduction of you, but you're both first round draft picks. You're both incredibly talented, and I know some of your clients who I've talked to over the years couldn't appreciate you more. Karen, what do you look for in a good political consultant, a good strategist, corporate political? What are like the traits that you look for in others? Like what makes somebody
honesty, honesty, always available.
Yeah, always available. So like
Fun.
if they text you on Saturday afternoon, you don't either not respond or text back, can I get back to you on Monday? Right?
Then I think you probably get fired.
Yeah. So honesty, responsiveness. Kristin, what would you add to the list?
I think those two are good. I think not. It's probably in the honesty bucket, not being afraid to deliver bad news. I think I'll get people who shy away from that. I would say that, and I would say people who think outside the box, right? Not just so many people in this industry just copy and paste the same thing from one campaign to the other. So I think people who are creative and think outside the box and aren't afraid to break glass and do things differently.
Are you both currently working for corporate clients with a strategist from the other party as a team? You both doing that right now? Karen, yes. Kristin, no. Kristin, those are the best gigs because you learn a ton from a smart Republican, or in your case, a smart Democrat, and the client pays a premium because they think they've got everything covered. There's so much I want to ask you two about. We're going to start in California where Karen lives, redistricting, because I want to ask you about something about redistricting, about this question of honesty. Okay, so there's a poll done by Gavin Newsom's pollster that puts the prospect of redistricting passing in the special ballot measure in the fall very, very likely to pass. And they put it out publicly, and they've said this poll suggests this thing's going to pass. All the other polling that's been done suggests that it's not such a sure thing. And as we all know, no has an advantage over yes, particularly on a process question, right, Karen? That's what history suggests. Process question, people are more likely to say no. And of course, a lot of people in California like the nonpartisan redistricting. So here's my question. The Newsom people say to me and others, see this poll we did, it shows it's likely to pass. Should Gavin Newsom be trusting his own pollsters on this, or shouldn't he be looking to the more independent points of view? Karen?
I don't know if we know whether Gavin Newsom only had one poll.
Yeah.
Because I've understood that the internal polling shows it very, very close.
Yeah.
Shows it up, but very, very close. So I'm not sure that the internal poll that they showed other people is the only poll.
So Kristin, if I read what Karen's saying correctly, they did a poll that they put out to convince people there's momentum. This is a good idea, but maybe Gavin Newsom knows that it's tougher than his people are letting on publicly. Is that something that happens in politics?
I think it happens on every campaign. He gets.
I'm not trying not to be cynical. Sorry, keep going.
Oh, I think it does. And the people, when you look at polls every single day, we all understand that it's a snapshot in time, right? So you can never just take one poll and say, this is it. It's usually the aggregate over time to see trends. Trends are very telling. But I think every campaign here, if you have a candidate, let's just say a person running for office and they're lagging in fundraising and enthusiasm, pop a poll that, shows that maybe it was taken on a good day and shows them winning. That's going to get people to support with both their resources and just excitement. So it's a strategy for sure. But I would caution people who look at these polls, don't take one on face value. You got to take a whole bunch of them over time. And that's where you get the best picture. So it's a little bit, it's the responsibility of the viewer to really know that and look over time.
Karen, you think this thing's going to pass at this point?
Tough.
That's what I think. I think he's taking a huge risk. Maybe it doesn't matter, but I think if you just, all right.
I think it kind of matters how much Arnold Schwarzenegger decides to push back.
Yeah. Seems like he plans to push back a lot and raise a lot of money, right?
So far, but you don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
it's coming up fast though, right? Sometimes these ballot measures, they're worked on for 5 years, right?
Tomorrow's the vote, and tomorrow's the
happening.
vote in the legislature to see if it gets on the ballot.
We're gonna talk more about Gavin Newsom, but I got to do 2 pieces of business, so stand by. Joining us now, my colleague Bridget Fedesi. Bridget, welcome in. Welcome back from vacation.
Thank you.
What'd you and the family do on vacation?
We were in Rhode Island seeing all of the family, and your colleague Sean Spicer and I ran into one another.
Yeah. In Rhode Island, it's almost impossible not to run into somebody.
It's true. It's very tiny.
The neighborhood.
Yeah. No, it was fun. It was nice.
Yeah. Well, Bridget's back and her show's following us right at 7 Eastern. So, Bridget, what's your topic tonight and why should people join?
Well, it's back to school. We're talking about education, something I'm really interested in hearing from everyone about. It's a hot topic just in regards to school choice and AI and banning phones and mandatory, mental health screenings. There's so much with this topic, and I just really want to, I think it'll be a multi-episode topic, but I want to just dive in and hear from parents in particular and people who have kids in school or going back to school and just the state of American education.
So for people, believe it or not, such people exist who've never seen Real America, tell people what your program's like. How's it work? Would they log in at 7 o'clock?
Well, you log in. I'll do a little monologue. Tonight I have Erica Sanzi, who's been kind of at the forefront of talking about a lot of these issues in schools. She will be joining me as a guest. Bethany Mandel will be joining, talking about homeschooling 1 billion kids as she does. And then we like to hear from just anybody can raise their hand and join in and talk about what their concerns are, have questions, whatever is on their mind. We've talked about AI. That was really fascinating. And it's such a fun show. I really just like hearing from normies about what their feelings are.
Kristin and Karen, do you guys know Bethany Mandel? Do you know her deal?
I've never met her, but I've read a lot of her work.
She's got 5 kids. How many kids does she have? 6 kids. She homeschools them all.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I talked to her and her husband about it like very briefly, but it's staggering what she does. She does.
It's crazy. I have no idea. I have one, and I have no idea how she does it. But it's the whole entire system seems to be under reform, whether it wants to be or not. And so I think it's really fascinating too, just what Democratic governors are going to be faced with when they can either opt into this kind of federal school choice or not. So yeah, this is a big topic, and I think it's something that a lot of people are really interested in and have a lot of opinions about, by the way.
Yes, and very timely, of course, because some schools are starting this week, which freaks me out a little bit.
They already started in Texas.
I'm for starting school in September, by the way, if anybody wants to know my view.
Yeah.
Bridget Show, 7 Eastern, coming up, talk all about education, and you can watch it on the Two-Way platform. You watch it on YouTube. Go to twoway.tv if you want to learn how to log in. Bridget, thank you. We'll see you at 7. Grateful to you.
Thank you.
All right. One more thing, and then we're going back to it. For those of you who don't know, it's Gavin Newsom week here at Two-Way. We've been talking about him There's so much to say about what's going on. He's in a fight with Bed Bath and Beyond. He got endorsed. His redistricting got endorsed by Barack Obama today, and he's all in on going after the White House. So in a moment, more on Gavin Newsom. But first, ladies, you know what's coming next? Another sponsor, because this program now is just a cash machine. Just have all these great sponsors, and it's Indeed. If you are hiring the right people, to hire the right people, only one thing you should do, ladies, it's Indeed. It's all you need. You stop struggling to try to find somebody you need to hire. And I can tell you, when you're hiring, anyone who's ever been in the hiring mode knows it's annoying to hire. You just want to get good people in and get working. You don't want to be constantly interviewing. Sponsored jobs on Indeed allows the best applicants to jump right to the top. So it makes a huge difference. Their data suggests you get 45% more qualified applications than the non-sponsored job postings. So don't wait any longer. Go to Indeed.com/2way. And you get $75 sponsored job credit, $75 basically off to get your job listings more visibility. Again, Indeed.com/2way right now. They'll know that you saw it on this program because that's /2way. And so what if it's a twofer? You get a great job listing in the sponsored jobs, and you get to help the program. Again, Indeed.com/2way. Terms and conditions apply. If you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. All right, ladies, let's talk about Gavin Newsom. This on redistricting, as I said, 13, please. Barack Obama supports the California redistricting effort. Spoke very favorably of it, and he said, "You know, we believe in our party and nonpartisan redistricting, but Texas is doing this awful thing." So, Karen, I get there's a difference to do it mid-decade, but I never understood Barack Obama and Eric Holder, who have this high horse position that partisan redistricting is horrible, but where were they when Illinois did it? Where were they when Massachusetts did it? So is there some principled reason why Barack Obama says it's not good for Texas to do it and silent when Illinois did it? What am I missing?
I mean, the whole world changes every day under this new, regime that we live under. And now, California has the leader and the opportunity to go as low as Texas goes, and we're just going to have to do it. I think it's unfortunate. I think Obama probably had the right decision at the time with Illinois, but now we have, everything at stake, or so it looks. And I think that Gavin, what they have written is really smart. It's only triggered by the passage in Texas, right, which is smart. It's temporary. It goes back, which is smart. And I think that's going to be, that's the difference.
So, Karen, just one more. So there's 3 phases of this, and it could fail at any time. It might not pass, as we talked about. The courts could strike it down, and they might redistrict, and it might not work. That's probably the least risky because the map's so well drawn. But just in terms of whether it passes, I know from your words and your body language, you're with me that this is not a slam dunk. It's not, as I said earlier today, it's not a half-court heave, but it's like a guarded three-pointer, maybe, as that first extended sports metaphor, the heavily guarded three-pointer. And now you've got Schwarzenegger, and where's all the money going to come from on the anti side? I know people say there's going to be a lot. The Republican Party, like, who's going to spend to stop it?
Yeah, I mean, there have been some business folks who have stood up on the anti side, and they will put in money. The Munger family put in money the first time when Schwarzenegger tried to pass the last time this was on the ballot. So I think the Republican business community is going to step up. I think there's going to be enough money on both sides of this to have a good fight. Yeah. I just want to shout out to Paul Mitchell, who is the brainiac who put those maps together that you mentioned. So good at it.
Yeah. Not only putting some Republican held seats in play, but simultaneously magically shoring up some endangered Democratic incumbents too.
And that was super important, as you know, from the congressional. Our seats were not easy to win. The Democrats in California, they're very close. It took, in some cases, a week to count the votes. So this is not as blue as you would normally think. And Paul Mitchell did make maps that shore up the blue as well as bring down the red.
Yeah. All right, Kristin, a question for you on this. In the olden days, when my career started, if there was $100 million spend on a California initiative, like 90 million of it, probably more, would be spent on broadcast television, right? That's what people spent the money on. And then cable started and some on radio. If you had $100 million budget today in California for this, Andy, what would the pie chart look like? How much would be on TV? How much would be on canvassing? Like, where does it go in a California ballot measure these days?
I think for this one, I would do bulk of it in streaming. And so you would find your targets and target them directly. That kind of puts together the shift we're seeing overall of people.
So is that Netflix? What does that mean, streaming?
That's YouTube TV, your Hulu, Roku, all of that. So many people are cord cutters now. They aren't getting cable subscriptions. They're just getting a YouTube account and watching TV that way. It has not yet taken over broadcast. California is a really complicated state, as Karen knows way more than I do on this. But you have Los Angeles and all these different places where they're super expensive, not as targeted as you want. And in a race, in an effort like this, where you can find out who that voter is that you need to persuade or get out, target them via streaming. Follow their screen. So when they're on TV and then they go to their car on their phone, their laptop, it's always following them. Then I would say canvas, and then probably mail. I think those three buckets. Texting is, I think in 2023, texting was still very, very powerful. 24, I think, broke it a little bit. People just got so many text messages of, give me $5, I'll take on Trump, or give me $5, Kamala Harris is terrible. So I think that kind of broke the texting thing a little bit. So I would say your streaming bucket, your mail, and your door-to-door efforts.
Would that be a third, or?
No, it would probably be, if I had to really bucket up, I'd probably say 60 streaming, and then you take, probably 20 and 20 on the other two.
Yeah. And would, like, KABC, the ABC affiliate in LA, would you buy $1 off there?
I would buy live sports. And I'm really terrible on the sport map. So forgive me on that. I rely on other people I rely on media buyers to tell me, but you can't fast forward live sports. So I would spend a little bit more to buy during some of those games.
All right. One more about Gavin Newsom. Then I want to talk about Union Station. As you all know, if you watch the morning meeting or pay attention, Gavin Newsom and his digital team are just all in on fighting Donald Trump on TikTok and on Twitter and X and and Gavin Newsom is doing play-by-play. He's doing these interviews where he's quite openly saying, like, here's what we're doing. And here's a clip of him on a show with a bunch of liberal commentators mocking Fox News and the New York Post for their tender mercies, saying, oh my God, how horrible that someone's on social media being provocative. Here's Governor Newsom, 18.
Even poor Kid Rock. These guys, they've become a little precious, haven't they? These folks at Fox. They're like, this is so unbecoming of a governor. Oh. And meanwhile, they sit there reading his tweets every single day. Are they that totally out of touch? It's jaw-dropping how precious and concerned New York Post has gotten all of a sudden. How the Wall Street Journal head board is like, oh, no, we can't have this. What? I hope we're exposing it all. I hope we're exposing it all, and I hope we're entertaining some people.
Now, Karen, even Newsom-hating Republicans like Kristin Davis couldn't help but laugh at that. That's a very attractive side of Gavin Newsom. But I have a theory. Elites love this. Those elite liberal podcasters loved it. The morning meeting loved it. I hear a lot of Democratic consultants, and Jim Demers, one of the leading Democrats in New Hampshire, whose endorsement anyone running for president would want to have if New Hampshire primary matters, was quoted this morning in Politico, I think, saying, yeah, this is awesome. But then this poll comes out in Politico saying that he's barely beating Kamala Harris amongst Democrats and independents who lean Democratic in California. Like, is it possible that this is great for online people and for elites, but voters don't care?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a couple of things about this whole Gavin Twitter storm. First of all, I think number one, it shows that the Democrats are actually alive and doing something. Secondly, it allows the bully to get bullied. Just like he said, a little precious. Is Trump actually untouchable No, he's actually a real person and he can have the mirror shown on himself. And then third, I'd say, well, to what end? So we're alive and we can also bully back, but is this going to backfire? I mean, it could backfire as kind of a childish thing. You know, people are dealing with real problems. They can't afford real eggs. They can't afford, you know, their electricity bills. So is this kind of like a na 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 and kind of turn people off, or could it help politically? Could it, you know, start to bridge the generational divide? It reminds me a little bit of when, you know, like in the 90s when Clinton played the saxophone on the Arsenio Hall show. It showed him to be kind of real. I think the numbers in California with Californians are tired of Gavin and they're tired of Kamala, just like any state gets tired of their people. So I'd say for Gavin, the play is much more, you know, what does it do electorally in the country?
Yeah, I will say my experience running for president as a governor when your own people are not enthusiastic about you is a constant headache. Just a constantly comes up, like if your own voters aren't excited about you. Now, he's been around forever on the stage, but still, I if I were him, I'd be worried about that. Kristin, it's great to run for president as a Democrat, and the mirror is true of a Republican, where the people in the other party fear you, and some of them like you. Some of them say, well, maybe I'll cross over and be Republicans for Newsom. 3 months ago, no such thing. Republicans were like, bring him on. He'd be sitting duck in a general. And I think you could search for months in California and anywhere else. You couldn't find a Republican who'd say, yeah, maybe I'd vote for that guy. Or one or both of those potentially changing because of this new shtick?
Yeah, and I think, you know, when Trump does it or JD or anyone else, what they were so gifted at is you take the oxygen away from everyone else. So we can go back and forth on whether the tweets itself are actually humanizing Gavin or making Republicans like him. The most important thing he's doing is we are not sitting here talking about Josh Shapiro or Andy Beshear or, you know, Governor Whitmer. We are talking about Gavin, and we have been for a while. Every time he does a tweet or sends something, he's taken from the Trump playbook and taking the oxygen, so then no one else can really break through. And then he just kind of becomes the guy because that's all, like the only people we're talking about. Now, to Karen's point, to what end, what does he do with that new attention and having that place? Yeah. You know, the New York Times article today showing that Democrats are hemorrhaging voter registration. I mean, if I'm Gavin Newsom, I eventually get to a point where it's like, let's turn this into a fun way to re-up our registration because we're getting our butts kicked everywhere. So how does he translate that into actual action? Because he isn't Trump, so he can't survive on that alone,
right?
The way Trump was. But, you know, right now, I think it's not even about the tweets. It has nothing to do with it. It's just he's taken the oxygen away from everyone else. Right. And as long as he does that, I think it works.
I'll show you one more thing he did. And the more I think about it, the more incredible it is and how unorthodox. Okay. So a major employer in America, or at least once was a major employer, Bed Bath & Beyond, the CEO announced today, this 14, that they're not going to open up any more stores in California because of the challenging climate there. You make that bigger if you would. People here can see it. So if Gavin Newsom does run for president, and again, I'm the only one who thinks in the end he won't, but if he does run for president, this question of his record in California is going to be a big deal. Gavin Newsom will tell you he's been an economic success, 5th largest economy in the world, et cetera, et cetera. He says, the CEO of Target says, of Bed Bath & Beyond says, it's not about politics, it's about reality. No more retail stores in California. California has created one of the most overregulated, expensive, and risky environments for businesses in America. It's a system that makes it harder to employ people, harder to keep doors open, and harder to deliver value to customers. Okay? He says the result, higher taxes, higher fees, higher wages that many businesses simply cannot sustain. Okay, so a normal governor, particularly one thinking of running for president, who's going to need to convince the country that he can be a good steward of a good economy, you can take that down, would you know, I don't know exactly what the norm would be in terms of how to react to that. But this is not normal. Here's how Gavin Newsom fired back 15. Rather than, you know, saying, you know, like you could say, well, get my comms people are going to get together a list of businesses who say it's great here, or put out a bunch of statistics showing, you know, wages are up, whatever. Like, instead of doing that, here's what Gavin Newsom did on Twitter. He said, after their bankruptcy and closure of every store, like most Americans, we thought Bed Bath & Beyond no longer existed. We wish them well in their efforts to become relevant again as they try to open a second store. I haven't thought most of his tweets about all this stuff have been pretty funny, but Karen, I think that one's pretty funny, and I'm just wondering if you agree with me. That's an extremely unorthodox way to react to a big, what had been a big employer in his state.
I mean, listen, Bed Bath and Beyond in California, compare that to what's going on with the hyperscalers, all the AI innovation. It's like comparing Aaron Rodgers to, the hottest quarterback in football. I don't think that Bed Bath and Beyond, I don't mean to be an elitist, but I don't think that they were planning to open any stores anyway. This state is overregulated. It is very expensive. It has had a lot of people fleeing it for exactly the reasons that CEO said, but Gavin Newsom's got bigger problems running on the economy in California than whether Bed Bath and Beyond opens another store here.
Kristin, if one of your clients who's a governor had that same thing where Bed Bath and Beyond said, we can't open any more stores in your state because the conditions are horrible, and the governor said, hey, I'm going to tweet mocking them. Is that something you'd advise?
It depends on the brand, right? So if I think this probably fits the brand he's going for right now. So I probably would, if Gavin Newsom asked me, I'd probably say yes. Some other governors aren't that bombastic, so I wouldn't have recommended they do it because it'd be off character. Yeah. What I would recommend some is, go call the TJ Maxx people and the Home Goods people and all those other stores that actually are more populated and people the same kind of shopper is probably going to, and go to one of their stores, go shop at TJ Maxx or go shop at Walmart or go do something and get your man bites dog effect there versus a tweet. It just kind of depends on what the brand of the governor would be.
Yeah. All right. Thank you both. Really interesting. So the president didn't do anything in public today, but the vice president did. As I said, he and Stephen Miller and Pete Hegseth went to Union Station to greet the National Guard troops who were there. Similar to if you've ever been to Penn Station in New York, often we'll see National Guard there. Here is J.D. Vance talking about what he says is the reason that they were visiting them and why they're there. Number 3, please.
Of what? That DC has a terrible crime problem? You just got to look around. Obviously, DC has a terrible crime problem. The Department of Justice statistics back it up. The FBI statistics back it up. Just talk to a resident of this city, this beautiful, great American city. Don't they deserve... we talk about human rights. We hear these people outside screaming, free D.C. Let's free D.C. from lawlessness. Let's free Washington, D.C. from one of the highest murder rates in the entire world. Let's free Washington, D.C. so that young families can walk around and feel safe and secure. That's what we're trying to free D.C. from. And as Stephen said, it's kind of bizarre that we have a bunch of old, primarily white people who are out there protesting the policies that keep people safe when they've never felt danger in their entire lives.
Now, you thought that was a display of the most pugnacious vice president since Spiro Agnew. Here's more. Here's him mocking a protester some more. Number 4, please.
This is the guy who thinks people don't deserve law and order in their own community.
Mr. Vice President, how did it go?
Hey guys, thank you.
Karen, from a political point of view, which party is winning the DC crime Trump takeover messaging wars and why?
I can't even. I don't know. I think the Democrats are going to win this one eventually because of stuff like that. It's so distracting. It's so off message for what people really care about to go to Union Station and where none of the crime I wouldn't say none of the crime occurs, but if they want to protect young families that he's envisioning, the guards aren't really there. They're in the other places. And he's belittling people. I just feel like this is, like I said before, I think that this is a decoy move that's going to backfire on them. I'm mindful of Maureen Dowd's piece, and I don't want to sound like there's no crime at all in Washington. And I feel like, of course, the homelessness problem is a problem everywhere in cities in America. But the way they're handling it is like hitting, a small, ant farm with a sledgehammer.
Kristin? thoughts on JD Vance there and just this general issue?
Again, it comes down to the brand. So there are a lot of, people in that position that I probably would have, had their advance work a different route in and out so that they didn't have the Kava line going in front of them or people screaming and yelling. But it fits JD's brand. He gets the news out of talking back to the protester, and he's comfortable doing it. And it's similar to Newsom and Trump, where he gets takes the oxygen out of the room for it. So it works for him. I think this whole battle, anyone that's been to Union Station in the last 10 years, I went to college down the street, Catholic University, long time ago now, but it was much more dangerous then. It has gotten a little bit better, but it's still not the kind of place where, you put your bag down or when you get nervous walking at night. So I think for Democrats, where they're going to overplay here is no one will really care that JD was a smart aleck, talking to a protester. They're listening to Democrats say, how dare, there's no crime here, everything's fine. And that really isn't resonating. So if the two choices are a vice president who's talking back to a protester or Democrats denying that there's crime in a city, not even in Washington, D.C., but a city, most Americans are going to say, wait, I don't think the Democrats are in touch here. So I think ultimately, if Democrats are to win this one, they just need to say, yeah, it's a city. We have a lot of homeless. Let's figure out ways to solve these problems in a compassionate way. If they really want to try to make, win that argument, I just don't see anyone in the Democrat Party really doing that right now.
Okay. 3 quick things that we're going to take your questions. So if you want to get in the conversation, please raise your hand. First of all, important Politico story, number 8B, please, that says something that is true, but I haven't seen it put in this sharp relief. And it basically says the Europeans believe that Putin doesn't want peace and that this is going to fail. They hope they're wrong. Here's the headline. Europe thinks Trump's peace talks will fail. It wants them anyway to call Putin's bluff. And this is what some people close to the president believe, that not all, but some, that this isn't going to work out, but that at some point, I've said around Labor Day is my sense, if Putin hasn't engaged in serious bilateral or trilateral talks, there'll be more sanctions. There'll be more weapons given to the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians will be unleashed to use the weapons in a more fulsome way. And this important story says it's the first I've seen that puts it on such a fine point on it. All right. This morning, the president, number 6, said that the Lisa Cook, who's a Biden appointee to the Fed, should quit or she'll be fired because of alleged mortgage fraud. This is being pushed by Bill Pulte, who's a senior bank housing official in the administration, a very gadfly kind of guy. And she this evening, not that long ago, number 6B, put out a statement through the Fed saying, very similar to Chairman Powell, Fed's Cook says she won't be bullied into stepping down. She, like Powell, institutionalist for the Fed, isn't going to step down easily. And so we'll see. Bill Pulte says this information of allegedly she committed mortgage fraud, according to Pulte. As he says, he's referring it to the Justice Department, which has had no comment. Now, I will tell you, I got to choose my words carefully here. There's someone else, a senior, very visible official, not a federal official, but a state official, who's been reported to be under investigation by the Trump administration, who has been asking people if they'll support her if she's indicted, and seems to think she's about to be indicted. I can't say who it is, but just keep your eyes and ears open to the New York Post over the next 48 hours and see if someone might be indicted that would cause quite a stir. All right, ladies, last story is this. Sean Duffy went on Will Cain's Fox show. Will Cain's doing some kind of fitness series with all his friends in the Trump administration, did pull-ups with Bobby Kennedy. Now, ladies, I'm not trying to sexualize these two men, but just from an objective point of view, put the video full so they can see it. Giant. I just tell me if you think these guys who are in there, I think one's 50, 160 or so, or maybe 40 and 50. Just see if you think you would characterize these as dad bods. This is Sean Duffy and Will Cain. Roll the tape.
Go, Duffy! Squeeze him out! Go one more!
Karen, how would you characterize their level of fitness?
Better than mine.
All right.
I don't know
Kristin?
what to say.
they look like they work out. I mean,
Yeah.
a little too skinny, but they
Too
should.
skinny for you.
They eat a hamburger now and then, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm just, those guys, man, you could call it annoying or inspirational, but they're good shape. All right. Time for your questions. As always, you come in, unmute, tell folks who don't know where you are and your questions for Karen and Kristin. We start with Jen from Oklahoma. Jen, welcome in.
Hi. Today I was at an appointment and they had one of those screen things where various things rolled across the screen, including famous quotes. And it had this quote from Abraham Lincoln. "I destroy my enemy by making him my friend." And I thought, well, that's kind of timely after all the criticism that Trump took for not treating Putin like he was the scum of the earth when he came to have talks. And I thought, maybe Abraham Lincoln would have been all for it. But that was really all I wanted to say. I just thought that was time what was going on.
Great. Kristin, thoughts?
There are a lot of Republicans and Americans who I think watched how Trump handled Putin and with concern, cautious, seeing what was going to happen. But ultimately, in order to really bring peace and to end conflict there, you have to bring all these parties to the table. And so I would agree with that quote. I would probably agree with you that Lincoln would have that same type of open mind. It seems a little unconventional at first, and even myself watched with caution. But we're much closer today to seeing peace in that area than we were 6 months ago, or a year ago, or 2 years ago. And so they have to come to the table. And I think that Trump has been able to do that arguably better than really anyone in public office for the last 10 years.
Karen.
It reminds me of something that President Johnson said when he was asked, how was he so successful in bringing and getting votes out of Congress? And he said, my strategy is to bring my enemies inside the tent and have us both piss on the outside of it rather than keep the enemy on the outside to piss on me. And that sounds like the same strategy that you might be suggesting. I think the whole thing with I'll leave it at that. I hope we can we'll talk about the Ukraine-Russian piece more.
Okay, Jen, thank you. You mean talk about it on this program or just in America?
No, on this program.
Well, say what you want to say. We've been talking about it so much, and there's not that many developments today. So not a major part, but I'd love to hear what you think because you haven't been on lately to talk about it.
I've just been thinking about it a little bit and looking at some of the past, historic meetings of world leaders with American leaders. So, Potsdam with Truman and Churchill and Stalin, which was really to decide how to deal with the defeated Germany, or Nixon and Mao, which was the meeting that was the breakthrough, to opening up China. Reagan and Gorbachev, of course, which was a turning point in the Cold War. All of these, FDR and Churchill, you could talk about Kennedy and Khrushchev. They all were breakthroughs to major accomplishments. And while we now don't know what's going to end up happening, in each of those cases, you didn't have the leader who met with the American president go out and bomb the country they were talking about finding peace in.
Yeah.
During the meeting with the with the leader, with in this case Zelensky, and cause NATO troops to leave Germany and defend the European nations. And also they were targeted at energy infrastructure in order to cripple and continue to kill people in the country. And so I can't even compare this to anything that's ever really happened in our country. And I hope good things come from it. I hope it's true that peace is close, but I just don't think bringing in the mentality of Putin and how Trump treated him was so anathema to how American presidents in the past have treated other leaders in similar situations.
Karen, I take your point, but let me ask this. Joe Biden treated him, dismissively and isolated him. But that didn't seem to lead to a path of peace. So there's an alternative point of view. Give the guy honor, make him feel like he's part of the community of nations to some extent. And maybe this won't work either, but isn't it pretty clear that isolating him didn't seem to be leading towards peace either?
I agree with that. And I think Biden's way didn't work, but I don't think that what feels like almost a chaotic set of quick meetings with red carpets and putting him in the beast and that kind of coddling of a person like Putin is a misread of personality and intention on Putin. And I blame the president for that. Look what happened just the next day or 2 days later. So there's a middle ground is what I would say. Biden's way isn't the right way. And I don't think Trump's way is even coherent.
Yeah. Kristin, do you have a gut feeling about whether Putin will agree to meet with Zelensky or not?
I think, well, I'm hopeful that he will. I'm not overly optimistic that it'll happen.
Okay. Karen, anything else you want to say about it?
No.
Okay. Two quick updates. Will Kane's 50 and Secretary Duffy's 53. So, of course, they look better than me because they're much younger. The Texas House gave initial passage to their redistricting bill. Long way to go, although no one I know thinks it's not going to pass. Ryan, welcome in. Thank you for being part of Two-Way. Tell folks where you are, what's on your mind for Karen and Kristin.
Well, thank you for bringing me in. I'm going to take us on a different path. A story that hasn't come up. This Israeli administration official arrested and released, and now back in Israel. I'm just wondering, any new developments there that you're aware of, Mark?
Yeah.
And I'm not clear on why this isn't a bigger topic.
Yeah, we talked about it last night, or was it yesterday morning? I can't remember. Ryan,
I think it was yesterday morning.
Yesterday morning. Do you guys know about this story? It hadn't gotten much attention. There was and while I'm filling everybody in who didn't see it, Michael, if you could look, check the wires and see if there's been an update, because I confess I didn't check. There were a number of people arrested in Vegas on child pornography charges or sexual assault. I can't remember which it was now, but some pretty serious charges involving kids. And one of them was an Israeli diplomat, and he was released and he fled the country. And the federal government said he was not released by the feds. He was released by a state judge. And that's the last I knew. Michael, you'll chime in when you know if there's been updates. I didn't see any cross my path, but as I confess, because as you point out, it's not being very well covered. It's hard to know if there's developments. Michael, check. Ryan, how'd you get aware of Two-Way?
Oh my goodness. Way back, this was months ago, you had Ethan Strauss on. I'm a big sports fan. Been on the Random Offense Two-Way a couple of times, and yeah, I got to say I appreciate the platform.
Yeah, Ethan is an incredible talent, and just yesterday we discussed we got to have him on this program more. So hopefully he'll draw you back again. And if you haven't sampled Ethan's show, Random Offense, I recommend it to you. Best name of any show ever, by the way. Random Offense.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
Ryan, thank you for joining. Grateful to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll wait and stay with us because if Michael has any updates, he'll share them. Joe, welcome in. Thank you for being part of Two-Way. Questions for Karen and for Kristin, please.
Hi, guys. Hi, Mark. Thanks for calling up again. Joe from Central New Jersey. This question, it's a question comment. It's more for Karen. I saw you last week on Two-Way, I think with your dad, right? And I raised my hand at that point. I didn't get the chance to get on, but I really wanted to ask you as a Democrat. I have Democrat friends. I'm conservative. I have Democrat friends. And it seems to me that when Trump won, they kind of went into a funk. But then afterwards, when they came out, they kind of dug in. So one of the comments I made to one of my closest friends was, when things like this happen and you lose, you really have to look inward, right? And I know we've talked a lot about the fact that it doesn't seem like the Dems are looking inward. But I was just curious, you as a consultant for the Democrats, besides the fact that maybe Kamala Harris wasn't the best candidate, what is it that you think should change about the Democrat Party that would help you win an election? And I mean in terms of concrete policy, and what would you do if you were queen?
Great question. And just to be clear, many consider Karen queen, so it's not a hypothetical. Karen.
Okay, that's great.
Joe, Mark asked in the beginning of this call, do you have any clients that you work for who have bipartisan consultants? And I said yes. And I worked for Al Gore when Al Gore was not green enough for environmentalists, when Ralph Nader, thought he was too conservative, and so didn't support him. And I believe that the Democrats have started to lose their way when they became kind of one-sided about the economy, for example. And so in where I come from, and what I think is important is to get shit done. And you cannot get shit done in a Congress or in a trifecta of the federal government. And you can't get things done in California, which is a pretty blue state, without the business community. So I think that those are places where we really have to play hard. And while you can't do everything you want to do under a Trump administration, you can do a lot. And that's what I look for. I look for the path forward. I look for where the water can flow. And in my area of expertise, energy, I look at nuclear and geothermal, and I don't obsess on solar and wind right now, because they're not favorites. So I look for things we can do on the other side of the aisle and make progress. And then when our time comes again, we'll make progress in other ways.
Oh, thank you. To update on that Israeli case, the gentleman's lawyer says they're going to fight the charges. It is an accusation of pedophilia. Fight the charges, even though he's back in Israel. He was, according to reports, the way the case worked was a police officer impersonated an underage person, and that's what led to the circumstances in the indictment. He was released by state and local authorities, not by federal officials. All right, Bella, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind for our guests in our waning moments.
All right. I raised my hand because I heard Karen talk about, Putin. Putin is a monster. He is. But I remember Obama told Medvedev that, he'll have a better way of talking to him right after Putin assassinated that woman journalist in the hallway of her apartment building. And Obama went over to Medvedev and said, I'm gonna talk to him when after I get my second term. So it's just politics. It's the way politicians. I don't know what you can do about a monster like Putin. I don't think any of us do. You can't talk to him. I don't know. I guess then you need justification to help the Ukrainians, and maybe that's what this is about, which is better than what's been happening. The other thing I wanted to say is I don't always have time to watch you so live, but I usually catch you either your next podcast, and I listened to you and Patty Doyle about optional Democratic contenders. Mm-hmm. And if Josh Shapiro was too Jewish for a vice president pick, how do you think he's going to be? How do you think the Democrats would feel about him as a presidential pick? And Rahm Emanuel, the same thing. The country is not ready. Has never, I don't see never been ready, but now it's definitely not ready for a Jewish.
Yeah. I'll say two things about that and then let Karen respond to both questions. First of all, I have a high degree of confidence that Josh Shapiro was not picked by Kamala Harris because he was Jewish. I think there were other reasons, and I've talked about those. So pretty sure about that. And it was said for many years that Two-Way Tonight would never have a Jewish host. They said America wasn't ready. And yet, look what's happened. Karen. First, talk about the Putin thing, because I think Bella phrased it in a way that was pretty compelling.
You repeat the question.
Just, you got to talk to bad people. He's a bad guy. You got to, you can't just be kind of precious about it.
Yeah, again, I would say I don't think the meeting itself was bad. I think that the sloppiness of it was not the sloppiness, the quickness, the expectations built around it, the interrupting of the meeting with Zelensky to take a call from Putin, all of that theatrics around it was not accommodating or appreciative of the personality of the dictator he was dealing with.
And the Obama slip in the mic. Did you make a comment did you feel that way then?
When Obama said to Medvedev after the election, tell Vladimir I'll have more flexibility or whatever he said. Did that bother you that he said something so intimate and kind of conspiratorial to a dictator's representative?
No, I don't know the context of their relationship, and I don't feel exactly the same way. I mean, what makes me feel this way also about Trump is that, speaking of the hot mic, I mean, the hot mic at the White House when he said, I think, Putin wants to do this for me. I know that sounds crazy, but I think he wants to do this deal for me, which is just a complete narcissistic misread of a leader.
Bill, thank you. Grateful to you. Kristin, is America ready for a Jewish president?
I think so. I mean, look, when I look at that field, and I grew up in Pennsylvania, my family's all there. Josh Shapiro's numbers are some of the best I've seen just out of anyone there. And I think 26 is where we really need to watch to see where the Democrat Party is going to go. If the base can, run rapid with it, then no, it's going to be someone like Governor Pritzker, who will not appeal to the voters that they need to attract back to the party. Josh Shapiro has been relatively bipartisan on some things, even though my fellow Republicans would probably, slap me for saying it. But, he's popular in the state for a reason. And so I don't think that depends what part of their party kind of rules out. Virginia is another place to look. You have elections going on there now. The lieutenant governor nominee, Democrat nominee, was the most radical far left candidate that was in that race. It was up against the mayor of Richmond and also a very talented football player, state rep from Virginia Beach, who is talked about being the next middle of the way feature of the party, and the radical won. And now she's down and losing, and you could potentially have a split ticket where the Democrat wins the top and the Republican wins the middle of the way because the Democrats nominated a bad person. So I would watch these races now to see where the party is going to go. And if the party is going to go where they learn their mistakes, then I think Josh Shapiro is going to be in the top 3. If they don't, and they let the very harsh base win the day, then you're going to see candidates like Pritzker and others who can't, win states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And I think we're looking at, another 4 years of Republican presidency.
On the newish episode of Next Up, Patty Solis Doyle and I talked about first tier, second tier. And I said we agreed Governor Newsom alone in the first tier right now. And then second tier, Karen, I know you've been so busy, you haven't listened yet, but our second tier, we agreed on this, Governor Shapiro and Wes Moore, even though he says he's not running, and Rahm. Even though I don't think Rahm can be the nominee, but that was our second tier. She put a fourth person in the second tier. Karen, who was it?
What a good question.
Think about your friend Patty, who she'd say.
Well, she didn't say Hillary.
No. Hillary's not. Where's Patty from?
Oh, I don't know.
She's from Illinois. She's from Chicago. So she said Governor Pritzker. I said no. And then this morning on the morning meeting, Dan Turntine put someone else in the first tier. Not any of the 4 in our second tier. Who do you think Dan put in the first tier with Governor Newsom?
Was it AOC?
AOC. Yeah. Anyway, tomorrow on Next Up, I'm going to do my reported monologue on Gavin Newsom because it is Gavin Newsom week for me. And I'm going to review the interview with him I did on the second episode of Next Up, where I talked to him about the 4 myths of Gavin Newsom. 4 myths of Gavin Newsom. And he responded. And I'm going to replay the thing he said to me, which makes me the only one in America who doesn't think in the end he'll run for president. Story about his daughter. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned now, 7 o'clock, Bridget, her show on education. Please go watch Real America. And then 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, Sean Dan and I will be back for another episode of the morning meeting. And we may have some news that I teased a little bit earlier. We'll see if it happens overnight. Karen and Kristin, couldn't be more grateful to you. Karen, Kristin's on all the time. Karen's going to be on more because we're going to be talking a lot about California with her dad. and Karen. And best of all, I'm going to get you guys a corporate client to work on together. So, and it's 50 grand, not split, 50 grand each.
Perfect.
Okay.
As long as you don't mind working for Cutter. Just kidding. Thank you both. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you at 9 a.m. Please go watch Bridget right now. Have a good night.